In a world where we're often too quick to judge on appearances, focus on ourselves, or find ourselves in a rush, this show is a reminder to slow down. Taste Exchange is a project that goes beyond the meals and happy hours and connects with the thoughtful human creators behind each experience. Lo and I will sit down and try and uncover what it is that connects all of us to the story of a life. Each of us is distinctly unique, yet we are all very connected. This is Taste Exchange. Welcome to our show.
Larisa is the Beverage Director of the SouthBound Complex, including BackStage Lounge and Neighborhood Speakeasy. She has degrees in culinary arts and food service management, is a member of the United States Bartenders Guild, is a certified sake advisor, and is in the process of obtaining her Level 2 Sommelier Certification. Her energy is contagious, and her enthusiasm to learn is truly inspiring. We hope you enjoy this thoughtful and engaging conversation. And then we can do a little cheers.
Cheers.
We should do a little, tell us when it's in the middle and we can like cheers it.
Like a boomerang.
Yeah. Ready? Oop. Cheers.
Cheers. I definitely went.
Ooh. What is that?
So this is the Burning Love. We're doing a pop-up this week, so this is the first of many. Exactly. All the music, or all the cocktails are music themed. So it's whiskey with a little bit of spiced rum, red wine reduction, and then vanilla cherry bark bitters. So old-fashioned style.
Yeah.
Good, something for everyone.
Yeah.
They do not turn out right at all.
But that's the point.
Yeah.
It's like learning. Like, okay, that wasn't right.
Yeah. Oh, that was a total miss the mark. Okay, so let's fix it. Let's try this.
Right.
You know? There's rarely an occasion where you're creating a new cocktail and you're like, first try, that's it. You know, it's always like, okay, let's adjust the acid, let's adjust the sugar, let's try some other elements to make it bloom. You know, whatever.
Yeah. But
So-
that's such a beautiful metaphor for life too, because again, like you wouldn't be like, oh, the first time I try something, I'm gonna crush it. Like, of course you're not. Of course you're gonna mess up. And then you're like, all right, let me try to like tweak some things.
Right.
And do it again. But we can be hard on ourselves, you know, like, I didn't get it the first time. It's like, whoa, relax.
Yeah. How many years have you been doing this? 5? Cool. Okay. Do it for 10. Then
Right.
you probably know.
Right.
So there's an exponential amount of things that I still have to learn in this industry. So to be pretentious would just be hubris.
If your personality was a cocktail, what would it be?
It would be anything tropical.
Okay.
I don't know why, but
Like
it's,
sunshine.
yeah. Well, it just the tropical cocktail category. It can be anything. It can be pink, it can be purple, like different colors. It can be savory, it can be sweet, it can be anything. So I just like the validity of like you can do anything with this category.
Yeah.
And they always look extravagant from the outside. Where like I always try to kind of make myself look a little bit plainer on the outside. You know, like I don't like to wear a lot of bright colors and things like that. But those cocktails are like they're supposed to be in your face and bright and beautiful. And,
Yeah.
like, just kind of the star of the show, I guess.
Well, what's really interesting is you have this like bright, like really amazing energy, so it comes out.
It's the caffeine.
I don't know about that. And you're like, it just kicked in.
It's here.
Yeah. Tell me about like how did you come to Charlotte?
Actually, my parents moved me to Mooresville when I was in high school. So I went through high school there, and then I went to Johnson & Wales up here.
Beginning of high school?
Yeah.
Oh man, how was that?
It was a fun time.
Yeah?
I had some phases. Went through some stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went to school in Johnson, Wales. I had a foods teacher down there that was like, "Have you heard of this place?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "No, I haven't heard of this college." And at the time, I had no idea what I was going to do because I was 18 and stupid.
Right. No one does.
Yeah. None of us do. Figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life at 18.
Yeah.
Bye.
Good luck.
But yeah, she told me about Johnson, Wales, and then we ended up doing some culinary competitions when I was in high school.
Okay.
Really fell in love with the campus, and I was like, I really want to go here. I want to learn. I want to be this female chef at the time, of course. And I still think that in a way we are chefs what we do here, but it's just a different experience. And I think I clicked with this so much more than I did with food. I like to eat the food though.
Right.
Excessively.
Yeah.
I did my associates in culinary arts and then did the bachelor's in food service management, and I got to take a spirits and mixology class, which is definitely a thing in a culinary school.
Okay.
And I learned about spirits and kind of how mixology works, and I was like, wow, this is actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
And so even though I didn't become a chef, it was still a big part of like what we do here. So I think it just combined both of my loves together.
It's true, right? Like none of us could have got here without other people.
Nope. I had no idea when I first became a bartender. I just thought it was fun, and I thought it was a step in the right direction to being a manager, like a GM, if you will. And then people just started going, "Hey, like, you have potential for this," like,
right?
And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Really? Isn't that interesting? Like at the beginning, you were like, I don't know, this just felt right, so you kind of follow it, right? And again, that's not like, oh, I have to know my 10-year plan. And you're like, oh, I thought I wanted to go over here to this GM thing. And then you're like, oh, wow, like there's this whole new world here. Yeah.
Well, and that's why I think it's kind of funny that they're like, at 18, they're like, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? And why so many people switch their
Figure
major.
it out now.
Yeah. Seriously, like, all right, you're going to do this for the next 30 years. And I was like, there's so many people that have switched majors and done different things,
Mm-hmm.
If I had to get out, if I ever wanted to get out of the industry, I'd probably be a therapist. I'd go back for an MBA and do that.
Yeah.
Just simply because I like to listen to people's problems. One size fits one was something that we were taught. Basically, that guest is their own person, they're going to have their own experience. So, if you're selling them on a bourbon drink that they drink and they drink vodka, that's not one size fits one. That's, hey, I think I like this, so you're going to like it too. I'm a bourbon girl. I love beer. I love wine. Big fan of gin as well. Just kind of those are my flavors. But vodka's never really been my thing. It's been a means to an end to me. A means to an end for me. But if someone's drinking vodka martinis, I'm not going to sell them on bourbon on the rocks. That's not that person. They had their own experiences in life, and they chose to do vodka martini. So it's knowing how to give that guest the best experience that you can possibly give them, because that's what's going to make them go, oh my god,
Right. Yeah, not like, well, this, no, you're gonna like it.
Right.
Yeah.
You can persuade. The whole point of our job is to teach,
Right.
And that's part of what I do with my cocktails is something that the general public doesn't understand as much. Put it in a friendly cocktail. Try it. You're going to like it,
Yeah.
and that contradicted everything I just said in a way, but like, you get what I mean?
I do, and I think there's a difference between someone who's like, nope, I want this. And you're like, okay, that's cool. And then it's like, hey, like, how was that? I have this other thing that you could try that's maybe similar, right? So it's like, it's closer versus like, I want this. No, you should have this. And they're like, how did you get from here to here?
Right.
Like, what just happened?
And then they get it and they're like, this is terrible. And then my experience is ruined.
Yeah. But you can apply that to everything, like not just cocktails. That's like life, relationships, It's like, no, like you're not hearing me.
Right.
Like, this is the thing. What's something that you've learned about yourself in the past year?
Oh gosh, my ability to be flexible, I suppose is the best way to put it. When I lost my job last year, and it's not like I lost it, like we were all laid off because of COVID.
Right.
Even though they were like, when this is over, you can come back. We're all giving you your jobs back. It was still like, okay, what if we never get our jobs back? What if we can't ever come back from this? If I was running 2 bars at the time, and then they were like, okay, nothing for you. And I was like,
out of control of everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
And knowing myself, I do like to stay in control a lot of the time. So it was like, I have no control over my life right now. And so that was just the solid, 2 months of us in quarantine, not leaving your home. And I live by myself. So of course you're going to talk to yourself when you live by yourself.
Right.
And my dog.
Yeah.
Have to talk to the cannoli.
Cannoli?
Her name's Cannoli, yeah. That did sound like she was an actual cannoli, like talking to a dessert. For reference, my dog's name is Cannoli.
Yeah, there we go.
So, also getting to know yourself, knowing your limitations. Like, I've never not been employed since I was 16. So it's like, okay, what am I going to do with my life? I got back into piano, and I started making videos of cocktails because I was bored. And like, you kind of find out like the things that you love. I did a lot of yoga, a lot of exercising. I'm just trying to fill those times.
Yeah.
Big fan of running. Makes me not sad.
Okay.
So running, you can get that nice sweet release of serotonin when you go for a run.
Absolutely.
So I did a lot of that during quarantine, of course, socially distanced because the gyms were closed as well.
Of course.
So I learned my capacity to be flexible in the way, okay, well, life's going to throw this at me. How am I going to respond? Instead of kicking my feet and crying about it, how can I now become somebody else or or do something else,
Right. I think do something else more because you still have control over yourself, just not external factors. So it's that, and I love how like resilient you found out you were when you're like, normally I like to control everything. And then you're like, oh, well, now I get to create new stuff, and do other things. But you still have yourself at the end of the day, which is a really beautiful thing.
Well, I feel like when you get all that time to yourself, you get to connect to yourself more. Work can be stressful and it can be a lot of hours. And then you kind of pull away from like the person you are just a little bit. Not necessarily change into somebody else, but just kind of ignoring that full creativity or whatever in the back of your mind. And then when you're doing nothing else but thinking, you kind of pull that back out of yourself.
Yeah.
And it helped me realize, and it's super important, I think, for mental health especially, this is all temporary. That was like the mantra, and it still is to say, this is temporary. We can't be happy all the time. It'd be really weird if we were all just, everything's great. Oh my God, I love my life so much. Like the bad times help you appreciate the good times. It's just important to not be stuck in those bad times and say, this is temporary. I will not feel like this forever.
Right.
So that was a big part of it too.
Yeah.
I think it came from just being sick of being sad. I woke up one day and I was like, I don't want to do this again.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, how can I get out of here? Get out of that brain, that mode of like, woe is me, or the world is terrible. And I had a piano at home and I was like, I haven't touched this in so long because of, being busy and this and that. So I just started relearning. And other people, I would say, actually, strike that. Well, that is part of it, but people are what get you out of it. There are just people around at all times to say like, either get over yourself or, hey, it's okay to feel this way right now, but like things will be better. Just to reassure you, it's having people around to be like, hey, like, why don't you try getting into piano again?
So you had some like little nudges to help.
Kind of, yeah. It's like, hey, like, why don't you try this? Like, try reading a book, try doing this. And you just start finding things that you love or refinding things that you loved before. And you're like, wow, I forgot how this feels,
Yeah. You mentioned piano and running. Were those things that you'd done earlier in life?
Yeah, I've always been a runner.
Okay.
Which, egg on my face, because I was a cheerleader and I was a softball player and I was a swimmer and I tried basketball, but I was never really great at them, and running seemed to be something that I loved and I was actually pretty good at. So I found that out after high school with all the sports. Could have gotten a scholarship or something. I don't know. It's always been something that can ground me back.
Yeah.
We were talking about that runner's high. You get into that, and then you're done with your run, and it feels really good. I don't recommend it for everybody.
Yeah.
Some people hate running.
Yeah.
But it was just something that I could consistently do. But singing in general, just like that release, the same thing that running gives you. It's just like you feel amazing.
Feeling into that joy, I think like that's such an important thing for people, is like whatever brings you joy, whether it's running or singing or music or piano or making drinks or being creative, like follow that.
Yeah.
Follow that call.
if I couldn't make drinks or if I couldn't be that person, I would probably not. I would perish. I keep saying like I'll die. But it's such a big part of me. Like if I couldn't do it anymore, and getting COVID, I lost my taste and smell, and I still don't have it fully back. And that's been a challenge too. And had I been where I was a year ago, I probably would have receded into myself.
Right.
And I have to just kind of keep pushing. And thankfully, it's slowly coming back, but my nose isn't all the way there.
Yeah.
You know, you can paint on a canvas. There's music. There's what he's doing here with his filming, and then there's cocktails.
Yeah.
It is a craft.
It absolutely will. And what's really interesting is Erin's film is using our brain, and it's about like creativity and artistry, and like anything can be art, right?
Yeah.
Like depending on how you work with it, and like the conversation can be art, right? So it's just like super interesting. So like absolutely, this is 1000% art what you're doing.
And if we didn't have it, we'd die.
Yeah, no, we really would. I mean, it's like the connection fabric, I think, between us
as humans. Yeah.
Especially with people like, we've seen a lot in the past year of people like really butting heads, but it's like, hey, if you just sit down and have a conversation with someone, like you never know what you can learn.
Well, if you think about it too, in the grand scheme of things, with music, for example, they're playing and you don't know where they come from. You don't know who they are. They don't know each other, and they're just playing, and there's this connection with their brains of just gelling together. That's why I love jazz. I mentioned that earlier, and they don't really have a script. They just go out and they just feel the music together, and there's nothing else blocking them from feeling that music together. It's just them in that moment, and I think that's where our creativity kind of just becomes the same thing. Like as bartenders, we can have all different views of how we can do things, but at the end of the day, we're all sipping whiskey together. You know?
Right. Going back to like the artistry, that there's a time where you like really feel like you're in the zone, like the musicians kind of collaborating on stage.
Yeah. And again, it's a team effort, right? Having two bartenders there, and it's a busy Friday night, and there are people coming in the door. There's, back before COVID, when there's 3 deep at the bar, and you're like, kind of make a signal to the other bartender, like, oh boy, here we go. Yeah. All right, here's the time to shine, and then you just get into this rhythm of, not only just creating the cocktails, but taking care of guests and making sure that everyone's seen and no one's upset, because most of the time those people are waiting for other tables, or they just want their drink in their hand, and then they're fine. But it's just that rhythm of like kind of putting it all together. Like I used to spin behind the bar, like spin around, okay, grab a plate off this person's table, and then spin around again. Okay, here's a cocktail for this person. Spin around. What can I do for you, sir?
Right.
And then the other bartender's doing the same thing on the other side, and there's just kind of this energy between you that like, all right, we're here to get stuff done.
Yeah.
Instead of getting mad at each other for whatever reason. That's the best moment. It's just that you're in the thick of the weeds, and you're just getting things done and not showing it on your face that you're in a panic. Oh God, is this enough time? Like, how much time do I have? How long have I been making this cocktail? Is it stirred enough? Do I need to taste it? Like,
right. Well, it's interesting. It's kind of like being in that flow, and kind of like we were talking about just before the camera started rolling, like right before, like you're on the adrenaline, but you're not in like panic mode. It's like you're in the zone.
Yeah.
Really.
Like a runner's high. If you ever experienced that before, where your mind just kind of wanders a little bit, and you still got this like Rolodex of things that you have to do at any given moment.
Right. But they're more like readily available,
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, now this and this and this, versus like, oh my God, I'm panicking.
What do I do next?
Yeah.
No, it's like, okay, I'm going to get this drink for this person. All right, I'm going to clear this plate off. All right, you want some sushi? Like, because I used to work in a sushi restaurant.
Yeah, that's right.
So, that's just like the most vivid experience, before COVID is like on a Friday night in that restaurant. So that's where my mind goes to.
Yeah.
It's made me more creative. I think it kind of actually gives me this outlet to create cocktails in a different way, because sometimes I'll be in a rut. You get like writer's block, for example. And you're like, oh man, I really don't know where I want to go with this menu or this cocktail or whatever. And I'll just kind of, I'll just mess around on the piano and play a little bit, play some scales, whatever, just make some music and then sing in the shower mostly. And then I'm like, oh, that would be really cool if we did this, and it just clicks.
You step away from it a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's fun, and there's no pressure behind it, right? Like, as much fun as this is, there's also some pressure behind it because that's your job. You know, you got to do costing. You got to make sure your levels are right. You got to make sure that the staff knows how to make the cocktails and the execution's there. But with music at home, it's like, all right, if I mess up a key or if I squeak, which happens sometimes, no one's there to ridicule me. Maybe my roommate or my dog, but
dogs never judge.
I don't know. She's got a pretty judgy face. She's sassy. She's a sassy one. But yeah, I think it's more of like, it just kind of, it's a release, you know, it's not my career and it doesn't matter if I mess up. So it's a safe space. There we go.
Yeah.
Safe space.
That's awesome.
This is going to get mushy. And when I was talking to her, kind of how my story kind of came to be, I wanted to say thank you to every person in this industry and outside of this industry, really, that's helped me get here. I didn't know what the heck I was doing, still kind of don't, but there were people reaching out to me, seeing, I guess, the potential in me that I didn't see, going, if you need anything, I'm here to help you. There was like tens of thousands of people that were just like, hey, ask me this question. I'm happy to answer it. So thank you to all of you for being there for me because you guys are what made me.
That's awesome.
Mushy. If you asked me that a year ago, I wouldn't even, I'd have all the answers for you. But now with COVID, it's like, you really don't know. I'm okay with not knowing.
Yeah.
I'm okay with kind of seeing where life takes me. I mean, 4 months ago, I didn't think I'd have this job now. I didn't know where I was going. And then I get to be here in a whole new world, really. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I kind of just want to roll with it.
To that point, like, instead of like having to have like concrete, like, what are important themes for you to take from like here forward?
I always want to have fun at my job. Mm-hmm. I never wanted to be behind a desk. And that was something that my parents both, I think, instilled in me, that life can be more than just a desk. Mm-hmm. And I love running around. I can't sit still. So this was the perfect industry for me. That and just, I want to have fun. I want to create. I want to be creative. I want to express myself in that way, whatever that way is, if it's still with cocktails or if it's with music, mm-hmm. Somehow make it big. Maybe I'm the next Ariana Grande in my 30s. I don't know.
You never know.
Who knows? But just being able to be me through that creative outlet. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Losing my job, getting a new job, life throwing every curveball it can at you, and still being able to get up and do something. This industry is completely different than it was a year ago, and it will probably never be the same. I hope it does for everyone's sake. I hope it goes back to where it was because it's amazing. Mm-hmm. But we have to adapt. We have to change. That's the biggest thing that I have to learn is that, again, this is temporary. You have to change with it. You can still be yourself and still change and grow. Mm-hmm. That's how we move forward. So this past year threw everything it possibly could at the service industry, 100%. And I'm very lucky to be here. And there are other people that aren't as lucky as me right now, especially in other states where they're not as open as North Carolina is. Mm-hmm. And we have to keep pushing forward. I think the biggest thing that sucks is seeing people lose their love for this industry because of what happened. Mm-hmm. People not wanting to come back after that, or not feeling secure enough to come back, because that's a huge thing. We all lost our security. Right. Some of them are living paycheck to paycheck. So I think it's never going to be that bad. If I lose my job here tomorrow, please, I hope I keep my job. If I lose my job here tomorrow, I'm still me. I'm still Larisa, and I can still kick it somewhere else, or be somewhere else. And it's never going to be that bad. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
That's amazing.
if there's like one word that you resonate with or like carry with you now, or that like represents you, or that you resonate with now?
About just me as a person?
Just, you, that like helps you either like, keep trying new things, or reminds you to be adaptable, or whatever it is.
Ooh, how about a phrase?
Yeah.
Let's get weird.
I love it. Let's get weird.
It's a response to anything. It's, okay, we're going into a busy shift. Let's get weird, Let's create a new cocktail. Let's get weird with it, and let's be weird.
Right.
Because I'm weird, as you can tell.
I don't think I think you're weird, but in a great way.
Oh,
right?
It's like a fun weird. Yeah.
I think like being weird is the best thing you can be. That means you're being you, and you're like, whatever this box someone put me in, I'm getting out of it,
Yeah, like I was talking about earlier, like even though there are moments where I'll go up to a table and I say something really dumb and I'm like, oh my God, why am I saying that?
Yeah.
It's just me. I'm weird. And I just I laugh it off and I'm like, okay, here we are. And then I tell the story to somebody and then they immediately start laughing,
Totally.
And then I brought joy to somebody else.
Yeah.
Just being weird.
Like, this will be funny later.
Yeah. So actually, in response to his last question too, it's let's get weird.
Yeah.
Next 5 years, let's get weird.
Let's get weird.
Let's go for it.
Hey.
I looked in the camera and was like,
Action. Wait.